Hey, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is my unboxing video as for the Accurate AF Tarot. I think that's accurate as fuck tarot. Okay, so this is a tarot deck by Prism Fleur Design Studio. And it says, it's created as an invitation for you to deepen your connection with yourself on a mental, emotional, and spiritual level. Accurate AF Tarot is a dreamscape portal, your go-to deck for honesty and enlightenment. All right, so really beautiful box. So let's open it up and see what's inside. Okay. So this is a circular deck, which I'm really excited about because I only have one other circular deck that I never use just because I don't particularly like it, but I do like this deck. So this is what the card backs look like. Now let's see if we can get them out of the box. Okay. Forgive me, there's two cards that are like stuck on the bottom of the box. Of course this would happen in my unboxing video. Okay, got one card out and got the last one out. Okay, so this deck does not come with a guidebook, but it has a little thingy that you can scan, I guess, with your phone, and you can download the guidebook if you are interested. Okay, so let's have a look at this deck. So card backs are beautiful, and then the edges of the deck are kind of like, hold on, let me look closely. It's gold, but it's not like, it's kind of like a muted gold, so it's not like ridiculously shiny, but it's like a kind of a spun muted gold, which I like. Now, cardstock is matte. It has that beautiful velvety soft finish, really buttery and luxurious. And cardstock, I would say, is fairly thin, but it feels like nice quality cardstock. Okay, so let's begin at the very start. Now, this deck is in order, so we're going to start with the Fool. Now, you might have a bit of a hard time seeing the names of the cards just because it's in gold. So I'll try to angle it so you so you know what card I'm looking at. Okay, so here is the Fool, and there's little keywords on the bottom, which is cool. So the Fool says optimism and freedom. So this is I love the colors in this deck. It's a very soft, kind of pastel type colors. Really pretty. Has kind of a modern and an ancient look to it, which is kind of neat. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the deck so that you get kind of a feel for the card, for the cards. So the Magician says synchronicity and manifestation. I like that there's keywords on here. That's kind of cool. And I like the style of artwork. It's very uncluttered, very simple, has a really beautiful color scheme as well. And of course, I'm going to do a test reading at the end of this video, just to take this deck on kind of a test run to see how it reads. Because I have to admit, I'm not very adept at reading with circular decks. Not that a circular deck is like drastically different than a rectangular deck, but yeah, I feel like the circular, this one's strength, they call it fortitude here. I feel like the circular format is interesting. Like, I feel like it's easier to sort of enter the card. Definitely invites you to step into the card. There's something about the circular decks, just that circular format. I feel like it lines up with your intuition more than a square or a rectangular deck. which surprises me that there's so few circular decks out there. It's not that common. So Metamorphosis, I believe, would be death in a, say, a Rider-Waite deck. Profound Change, Self-Awareness. Ooh, there's a beautiful geode crystal there. The Shadow would be the Devil. I think that's cute. I feel like this deck is quite creative in how it imagines each card. The Tower is a tower of tarot cards. That's kind of neat. This is neat. This is Judgment, and the keywords are Revelation and Awakening. And I always see Judgment as like a new beginning, a new opportunity. So I like that there's this sort of portal into this other universe. Okay, so here we are into the minors now. So we're finished with the majors, and we've got the Ace of Cups. So we're starting with the Suit of Cups. Now, this is what I would kind of call kind of similar to a pip deck in that the minors, they're illustrated, but they're not, they don't have like full-blown scenes on them, like in, say, a Rider-Waite style deck. So it's a little bit different in that regard. But I like that there's keywords here to help you. So Ace of Cups says spirituality, fulfillment. I would say that the minors might be trickier for someone who's brand new to tarot to read, just because there isn't like the full scenes on these cards. But there is the keywords, so I feel like that kind of makes up for that and makes it a little bit easier to read those minors. There's something calming about this deck. It's putting me into a specific kind of mindset. Just as I'm going through this deck and looking at the images, there's something calm and cooling about these cards. And I have yet to use this deck in a reading. I actually took this deck camping with me this summer. And I thought for sure I'd be doing lots of tarot readings and tarot journaling and all that on my camping trip. And I ended up doing no tarot reading and no tarot journaling on my camping trip. I spent the whole time, ooh, Queen of Cups. Nice, authentic, virtuous. That's pretty. I spent the whole time lying in the sun, suntanning, and reading. And I didn't really do any tarot. So I have yet to actually experiment with this deck, so I'm looking forward to doing a test run reading with these cards. And I'm probably going to use this deck also for my weekly reading this week as well. So it looks like wands are represented by crystals, which is cool. I think that really does represent kind of what wands are all about. Five of Wands, frustration, opposition. There is something satisfying about these images, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. Like this one here, just with the different stairways, and I don't know, there's something appealing about the artwork and the colors and the way it's laid out. This is actually a very different deck from anything that I have, so it'll be really interesting to see how it reads for me. That's what I find is so interesting about all the different decks that are out there, and how we're so individual in the way that we read and the things that we notice and the kinds of decks that we respond to. Like a deck that I don't like can be someone's favorite and vice versa. And so I think that's why we're so lucky that there's so many varied different decks out there for us to experiment with. And I find that each deck, depending on the deck, will help me kind of dive into a different aspect of my intuition. Well, this one's nice. King of Wands. I have to say I do like the court cards in this deck a lot. I'm kind of going through these a little bit slower than normal because I know the titles of the cards and the keywords are shiny, so I want to make sure that you can see them. Okay, Dawn of Swords. So Dawn would be the page, all about reflection and diligence. And then Spirit of Swords would be the Knight in a Rider-Waite deck. I can't help it but compare them to the Rider-Waite just because that's the deck that I learned on. Queen of Swords, all right. She's all about being self-reliant and perceptive. King of Swords, he looks quite hunky. Articulate, intelligent. Actually, that's probably one of my favorite King of Swords. I normally don't like the King of Swords, and I don't love how he's depicted in a lot of decks because he always looks serious, but I actually like this one. I like his his facial hair. All right, so we're into the suit of rings, which would be the suit of pentacles. Okay, 9 of Rings here, and 10 of Rings, so 10 of Pentacles. Culmination and satisfaction. Then we're into the court cards. Dawn of Rings, so Page of Pentacles. I have to admit I get a little bit frustrated when when the different cards or the suits are renamed, or the core cards, just because I tend to, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're using like one deck, because then you just get used to it, but I always flip-flop between different decks, and so I have to kind of do a little bit of mental gymnastics to remember what's what. Beautiful. Okay, I really like the core cards in this deck. Okay, so let's give these cards a shuffle. Now, I'm not sure how this deck's gonna shuffle. This is actually a very pretty, very feminine deck with really nice, like simple, calm kind of design. Okay, so I'm gonna do with this reading just with the intention that this deck is going to I'm going to ask this deck what kind of a deck it is. Like, what kind of readings does this deck like to do? How can this deck help me most? Because I find that every deck has like a different personality, and there's some decks that are great for doing relationship readings. There's some decks that are good for like career type questions. And so I want to know what kind of a deck is the Accurate AF Tarot. So I'm going to start with one card. And the card is the Three of Rings, so Three of Pentacles. And the keywords are collaboration and competence. I love it. Yeah, the Three of Pentacles, or in this case, Three of Rings, is all about collaboration. So this is a deck that wants to work with me. This is a deck that it's kind of like a friend and a guide, but this isn't the kind of deck that's gonna like tell you what to do like an authority. It wants to collaborate with you. So I think that whatever energy I bring to my readings, this deck will match. So I think this card is encouraging me to see reading with this deck as being like a collaboration between me and the deck. So I bring my competence and my intuition and creativity, and this deck will match that and bring what it has to offer. I love that. Okay, so let's draw another card. I'm going to ask the question, what do we need to focus on right now, today? What do we need to focus on? And the Fool. Optimism and freedom. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so I associate the Fool with new beginnings and looking at your life and the opportunities before you with a sense of optimism and allowing your intuition to guide you in a direction that feels the most open and free. And I think that this card is saying, you know, be open to different opportunities. I find the stance of the figure in this card really interesting. She has a sheet over her head, so she can't really see clearly, but she's holding both her palms out and she's holding like rocks in her hands. And I feel like she's going by feel here. She's going by feel as opposed to using her intellect. So I feel like this is kind of encouraging you to be really in touch with your intuition and to feel your way forward, as opposed to doing what you've always done, or as opposed to doing what you think makes the most sense logically. It's saying also you want to feel your way forward. So that's cool. Let's do one more card. So I'm going to ask the question, I'm going to ask this deck, what do you look for in a tarot reader? What kind of qualities do you like to see in a tarot reader? What makes a good tarot reader? All right. King of Cups. Okay, so the keywords here are integrity and stability. That's interesting. Okay, so King of Cups. I associate the King of Cups with being, he's in touch with his emotions, but he sees his emotions as a sense of strength, not weakness, because I think we're so used to seeing our emotional side as being kind of a weakness, and the King of Cups sees it as a strength. He knows how to use his emotions and that side of himself to move forward and to succeed. But what does that mean in terms of, you know, what this deck looks for in a tarot reader? I think this deck likes a reader who has integrity and stability, meaning once you ask a question, just ask it one time. Don't keep flip-flopping and asking the same question in a slightly different way. And this deck will hate the kind of tarot reader who asks a question, draws a card, and then if they don't like that card, they put it back and draw another one. You need to be stable and you need to have integrity in your reading and accept that the card that comes up is the card that you need to see. I think that's what this deck is saying. Okay, so I feel like this deck is pretty easy to read. I think even beginners will have an easy time of it. I know I said the minors might be a little bit tricky, but there is keywords here to help you out, so I think that really helps a lot. Really beautiful cardstock. The deck has a nice feel. It's not so big that it's hard to shuffle, so that's cool. And most importantly, it looks super pretty, like just sitting on my desk. It looks really nice. So I'm going to be using this for my weekly tarot reading, so you can check that out if you want to further see how this deck reads. But this is the Accurate AF Tarot by Prism Fleur, and I will put all the important links on where you can purchase this deck or find out more about it just below this video. So my name is Kate. I'm from dailytarotgirl.com, and thank you so much for watching.